Hello, my name is Emily Bynan, and today I'd like to talk about something very important, and that is the value and benefit of resting, taking breaks, and how to plan a good rest. How often do you take proper breaks? When was the last time you took a significant break? I think that for a lot of us, we think that skipping those breaks helps us get more done, but actually, very often the opposite is the case. Let's start by defining what I mean by taking a break. Taking a short pause from a task, typically to allow for rest or refreshment before continuing. In this video, I'm going to talk about 6 different lengths of breaks, how often they should be taken, how to prepare for them, and what to do during them. The 4th type of break is the most important and will boost your practice efficiency exponentially. There's lots to cover, so let's get started. Annual breaks. As I'm recording this video, here in the Northern Hemisphere, we're just starting the summer season, which is traditionally a time when many of us take a holiday. This might be a week or 2 to travel perhaps, or maybe to stay at home if you're away working or studying for much of the year. It's a wonderful moment to perhaps slow down, to get yourself into nature if you live in a city, or at least to do something different from your normal daily life. Now, to be honest, I used to be a little scared of taking time off playing. I was worried that all my hard work might just vanish and I'd have to start all over again. However, I have learned that when I have the opportunity, I actually find my playing improves after having a couple of weeks off. My body has had the chance to relax deeply, my head is clearer, bad habits that I might have picked up through the season get forgotten, and I love the chance for a proper reset. So I would encourage you to trust in all the work you've done through the year and really take a rest of a couple of weeks at some point over the summer. I'm sure that you'll come back to playing feeling refreshed and raring to go. Do make sure that you plan enough time to get back in shape before the start of the new academic year or the new season or your first lesson with your teacher. As long as you're in good shape before you go on holiday, about a week or 10 days should be fine. You might like to check out my In Shape After a Break workbook, which you can download free on my website. I'll put the link here below. Now, obviously, if you're an amateur player, squeezing your flute practice in between a busy working life, you might do the exact opposite, spending a little more time playing your instrument when you have some holiday time and are off work. For you, perhaps a boot camp kind of intensification might be the way you'd like to go. I might make a video about that sometime. Another traditional time of year for a longer break of perhaps a week or 2 is late December and early January. And then, if we're lucky, we might have another, perhaps shorter break at some point between these 2 traditionally longer holiday periods. If you want to stay engaged with your instrument during one of these longer holiday periods, then you might just keep things ticking over with a few technical exercises every day. Some breathing work, some long notes, a few slow, gentle scales, just to keep contact with the instrument. But I think you'll find that really taking a break would be even more beneficial. I often use a longer break to catch up on reading books that will inspire me. Hopefully then, I'm itching to get back to practicing after the break. And today I've got 2 recommendations which you might find interesting too. They're both about practicing skills. The English one I'd like to recommend is by Gebrian, called Learn Faster, Perform Better, subtitled A Musician's Guide to the Neuroscience of Practicing. For Dutch speakers, or rather readers, Wieke Karsten's excellent book In de Muziek is subtitled About Making Music, Studying and the Brain. Both these authors expound on various aspects of studying or practicing, but they both put a lot of emphasis on taking proper rests, and they have all the science to back it up. Monthly breaks. In addition to the longer breaks, I'm a relatively recent convert to the joys and benefits of having a few days off every month, or 6 weeks. Now, these might need to be rather more carefully planned than the longer holidays due to your working or studying commitments, but are well worth building into your schedule. I love to go walking in nature for a day or two, and I always come back to playing refreshed and invigorated, and most often my playing has improved too. Weekly breaks. My grandma used to say to me, even God had one day off a week. As musicians with so much of our visible working life, i.e. concerts, happening when other people are free, that means that we can very easily fall into the trap of never seeming to have a day off in a week. I know that I've certainly been guilty of this. But as I've got older, I've learnt to value, respect and cherish having one day every week when I don't even touch my instrument. I will admit I do often have to catch up on some other administrative work, planning programs, booking travel, planning rehearsals, answering emails and so on. But I try and take a break from the most important and creative part of my work, the contact with my instrument. Taking mini breaks during your practice. Obviously, how much time each of us practices on a daily basis varies enormously from person to person and maybe even from day to day. But however much you practice in a day, I would highly recommend never doing more than about 20 minutes practice without a break of a few minutes. Then for every 3 of those 20-minute blocks, take a much longer break, maybe an hour. You might remember from my video about the what, where and how of practicing, which I'll put a link to up here and a link in the description box below, that this famous way of dividing up your practice slots is sometimes called the Pomodoro technique. Originally 25 minutes of work followed by 5 minutes of rest. And every couple of cycles, a longer break. But try and find a structure which suits you. I like smaller chunks of about 15 minutes of work and then 2 minutes of rest. So let's say you aim for 3 hours of practice per day, 1 hour each for technique, studies and pieces, for example. Divide each hour-long session into 3 chunks of 20 minutes, with a 5-minute break between each. Or maybe 4 chunks of 15 minutes with 3 minutes in between. For these shorter breaks, just stay in your practice room and do some stretches, some jumping jacks. I just use my time to water the plants sometimes or look out of the window. For the longer breaks, take a walk around the block, get into nature if you can, or just get moving and get some daily chores done. Taking these regular tiny breaks helps prevent mental fatigue and gives your focus a boost, refreshing your brain. It helps consolidate what you've just worked on because your brain needs the downtime to process the information. It improves your creativity, as stepping away from the instrument can often lead to another inspiration or new ways of problem solving. And by moving during your breaks, doing some stretches or getting your blood flowing by jumping up and down, you'll help prevent the build-up of tension which can lead to injury. Nano breaks. In Molly Gebrian's brilliant book about practicing, she shares some fascinating research that was done here in the Netherlands and published in the summer of 2021. Subjects were trained in a key press sequence on a computer keyboard, rather like learning a new group of notes on the flute, for example, which they had to perform as quickly and accurately as possible. They were trained in bursts of 10 seconds, followed by a 10-second break when they did nothing, then another 10 seconds of training and another 10-second nano break. What is amazing is that the scientists showed that in the 10 seconds of not training, not doing anything, the brain actually improved more than during the training sessions. She explains this in more detail in her book and also in her YouTube video, which I'll put a link to up here and in the description box below. If you're still watching by now, then maybe you'd like to subscribe to my YouTube channel. There might be more videos there which you'll find helpful. And if you found this video interesting, then please give it a thumbs up and share your thoughts about taking breaks in the comments below. So, to summarise, and before I reveal my final tip about taking a break, let me share my ideal practice schedule. Ideally, I would practice for 3 hours a day. allowing at least an hour between these hour-long slots. Each hour-long slot I would then break into 3 parts, divided by 5 minutes of rest, or maybe 4 parts with a shorter rest in between, depending perhaps on what it is I'm practicing. Within those 20-minute chunks, I am from now on definitely going to incorporate the nano break method, because I've learned that my brain needs downtime to process what it's just trained. Then, 1 day a week, I would not play my instrument at all. Once a month, or perhaps every 6 weeks, I would extend that 1 day off into perhaps a 3-day weekend with no playing my instrument. And finally, 2 or 3 times a year, I aim to take a week or 2 off and really let the flute rest. One of those times is a great opportunity to have your instrument checked over by your favourite repairer. But they are busy people, so do be sure to book a slot. Sleep. One rest that we all need each and every day is sleep. I'm not exaggerating when I say that Matthew Walker's book, Why We Need Sleep, really changed the whole way I think about sleep. And since I read it, I have been sure to prioritise getting a good night's sleep, especially during busy periods when previously I might have thought that I would do an extra hour's work rather than getting an early night. Now, no way. Sleep is an absolutely essential component to learning. One of the very many fascinating studies he did on sleep was back in 2002. He trained participants to perform a key press sequence on a computer keyboard 12 times, and they were then retested on it every 4 hours afterwards. Obviously, they got a little better each time, but what was surprising is that the next morning when they were tested, they had made huge improvements overnight. Just by having a good sleep, they became much faster and much more accurate than the day before. But maybe this was due to the time between the day 1 and day 2 testing, right? So he took 2 more groups. Each was trained and then tested twice. One trained at 10 a.m. and was retested at 10 p.m. Yes, they'd improved as expected, but not nearly as much as they'd improved when they were retested again the next morning. The second group in this experiment trained at 10 p.m. and were then retested at 10 a.m. and 10 p.m. the next day. You guessed it, the improvement between the training and the first 10 a.m. test was much bigger than the improvement between the 10 a.m. and the 10 p.m. testing. So, get a good night's rest, have a good summer break, and when you get back to practicing, don't forget that taking regular mini breaks will boost your practice efficiency exponentially. See you next time.